The story of Flight 914, often called the plane that disappeared, is one of the most enduring urban legends in aviation history. Despite being widely circulated as a true event, the story is fictional and has been debunked as a fabrication, likely stemming from sensationalized media and conspiracy theories. Nevertheless, the tale remains captivating and has taken on a life of its own in popular culture. Here is a detailed account of the myth surrounding Flight 914. On that fateful morning of July 2, 1955, Flight 914 took off from LaGuardia Airport in New York, bound for sunny Miami, Florida. The passengers, families on vacation, businessmen and a couple on their honeymoon, were seated comfortably in the vintage cabin of the Douglas DC-4. For them, it was a routine flight, a trip that would take a few hours over the eastern seaboard. There were no weather warnings, no mechanical issues reported, everything appeared normal. Shortly after takeoff, the pilots communicated with ground control as they began their course over the Atlantic Ocean. However, within minutes, all contact with Flight 914 was lost. Radar showed the plane simply vanishing from its designated flight path. Frantic efforts to reach the crew went unanswered. Radio calls echoed into the void, receiving nothing in response. At first, air traffic control assumed there was a technical glitch, but as minutes turned to hours, panic began to set in. The U.S. military and civilian rescue operations were launched. Ships and planes combed the waters off the coast, searching for any sign of wreckage. Day after day, the search turned up nothing. No debris, no oil slick, no distress signal. It was as if Flight 914 had vanished into thin air. After exhaustive searches, the authorities reluctantly concluded that the plane had crashed into the ocean, likely at a location that had eluded them. The 61 souls aboard were presumed dead, and the case was closed, becoming one of the many unsolved aviation mysteries of the time. Fast forward to September 9, 1992. It was an ordinary day for the staff at the Simon Bolivar International Airport in Caracas, Venezuela. The control tower was busy with the usual traffic of incoming and outgoing flights. As air traffic controller Juan de la Corte monitored the radar, he suddenly noticed a blip that shouldn't have been there. An unidentified aircraft had entered the airspace without any prior clearance or communication. De la Corte, confused, tried to make contact with the unknown plane, asking for identification. To his astonishment, a crackling voice responded, "This is Pan Am Flight 914, scheduled to land in Miami at 9:55 a.m. on July 2, 1955. Where are we?" A moment of stunned silence followed in the control room. De la Corte and his colleagues exchanged incredulous glances. He assumed the pilot had made a mistake, or perhaps it was an old, restored plane with a crew playing a prank. But, as the plane came closer, they were able to visually identify it through binoculars. It was, without question, a Pan American DC-4, bearing the faded logo of the airline, which had gone out of business years earlier. The confusion deepened when the passengers were seen through the small windows. They wore outdated clothes, men in fedoras and double-breasted suits, women in poodle skirts, children clutching 1950s-era toys. The pilot, visibly shaken, continued asking for directions to Miami, still unaware of the massive time gap that had occurred. De la Corte, equally unnerved, managed to guide the plane to a safe landing on one of the runways. The shock on the ground. As soon as the wheels touched the tarmac, ground crews rushed toward the aircraft. The pilots and passengers peered out of the windows, their faces filled with confusion and fear. The pilot, Captain Miguel Armin, was in disbelief at the modern airport equipment and vehicles surrounding them. He grabbed his radio again and demanded to know where they had landed. De la Corte calmly replied, "Sir, you are in Caracas, Venezuela. Today is September 9, 1992. The cockpit fell silent. A deep unease seemed to settle over the plane. Suddenly, without any further explanation, the pilot's demeanor shifted from confusion to panic. He began shouting orders to the crew to prepare for takeoff. The ground crew, sensing the urgency, tried to approach the plane, but Armin shouted through the radio, ordering them to stay back. Within moments, the engines roared to life, and before the control tower could respond or intervene, the plane taxied down the runway and took off again, vanishing into the skies as abruptly as it had arrived. It flew out of radar range within minutes, disappearing once more, this time forever. The events that transpired at Caracas International Airport quickly spread through media outlets around the world. The sudden reappearance of a plane that had been missing for nearly 4 decades sparked a frenzy of theories, from scientific explanations to wild paranormal speculation. Some believed the plane had somehow traveled through a time portal, emerging 37 years later, without its passengers or crew aging a single day. Aviation experts were baffled. How could a plane remain intact and functional after all that time? And why had it vanished in the first place? The Venezuelan government, wary of the public's panic and the attention it was drawing, officially classified the incident as unexplained and discouraged further investigation. Conspiracy theories took over, with some claiming that the government was covering up the true nature of the event. One of the most popular theories tied the disappearance of Flight 914 to the mysterious Bermuda Triangle, an area notorious for causing ships and planes to vanish without a trace. Though Flight 914's intended route did not pass directly through the triangle, proponents of this theory argued that some strange atmospheric or magnetic phenomenon could have caused the plane to slip through a time distortion, re-emerging in the future. Others suggested that the aircraft had been part of a secret military experiment, possibly involving time travel or teleportation. These theories were fueled by the US government's apparent reluctance to comment on the event, which further stoked suspicion of a cover-up. Paranormal researchers even proposed that the plane had entered a parallel dimension, with time moving differently for those aboard the flight than for the rest of the world. This idea resonated with many who believed in the existence of alternate realities and time anomalies. Despite the fantastical nature of the Flight 914 legend, no concrete evidence has ever surfaced to support the story, yet the tale continues to fascinate those who are intrigued by the unexplained. It stands as a testament to the power of myth, showing how stories can captivate the human imagination, even when there is no basis in fact. Flight 914's enduring mystery reflects our deep-seated desire to believe in the extraordinary, to imagine that time and space can be bent or broken, and that somewhere out there, a plane could vanish into the past and reappear decades later, unchanged by the flow of time.